Inventor Corner podcast. I'm here with Paul and Freya and Niagara Falls. Why are we here, you might ask? Because we had the budget to come to the location of Nikola Tesla. Voice is gone.
Oh, you were doing so well.
That was going quite well, wasn't it? So, yeah, good evening. We're here, not at Niagara Falls, the location of Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror from Series 12 of Doctor Who, but I wanted to set the scene and a bit of atmosphere. But Paul and Freya are in their little studio, and I'm in mine. But hopefully you enjoyed that before my voice gave
amazing.
out.
Wasn't it amazing?
It was very good.
Did you feel like you were transported to
I was right there.
in the zone?
Well, just wait till the sound effects get put on that as well. The listening audience will not know what's hit them. Tonight we are talking about Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror, like I said, which we recently ran a poll because we wanted to rewatch
We
a
did.
13th Doctor
We're starting to
episode,
love our polls.
and
I'm
we
liking
put
the
out-
polls. The polls were a good idea.
Yes.
We should do more
Yeah,
polls.
there's
Love
another
the
one
poll.
running at the moment about... Yeah, well, I threw one up today for Legend of the Sea Devils. So we ran a poll with a couple of our favourite 13th Doctor episodes, not from Flux, because we've already
done
reviewed
that.
all of
Yeah, we've
those.
done that
And at some
We can
point
do
we
it
need to
later
do
on.
a...
When we run out
Yeah,
of
an
content,
entire
we can go
flux.
back to it. We can do
Yeah.
all of these podcasts
Yeah.
all over again from the start.
Yeah.
No one will ever know.
Yeah, that'll be quite a long time away at the rate we're going with stuff. But I don't know if you saw this, Paul, but we put out a tweet to say what are your thoughts on the Tesla episode, and I was really surprised by the response to it. It had 110 likes and a fairly hefty number of
good.
comments, which was great. The people
That's
really
what they call
responded to it. So
engagement. I like it.
it is engagement, yeah. So thank you to everyone who got involved on that. So we will come back to that later to talk through people's comments and after we've discussed the episode. So this is one of I'm probably quite biased in a way. I love all of the episodes in this era, really, but this is a particular favourite for me because I like the celebrity historical aspect of it, and using someone that in Tesla whose name we all know, particularly because of the electric cars, but maybe don't know a huge amount about. So he's quite kind of well known, but perhaps people don't really know why. And then the mix with the Skithra and the aliens, and I think it all tied in really nicely and all felt kind of like a coherent whole, and all fitted in together brilliantly. And I love the interplay between the Doctor and Tesla. And all the characters as well, the fam. So yeah, we'll go into it in a bit more detail. But yeah, I really love everything about this one.
Would you say it's one of your favourite all-time Jodie episodes?
Do you know what I would if you could be bothered, you could Google my username and Tesla, and you'd find this comes up quite a lot in my. Favourite episodes alongside Orphan 55, which might shock some people, but I'm shocked that it would shock them because it's a shocker that they're not liking that. Yeah, that was one of the other ones we had on our poll, and it was quite close actually, wasn't it?
What else did we have on the poll?
Yeah.
I'm trying to rack my brains now. We had Orphan 55, as you said. We had It Takes You Away. That is
which
one
you
of
love.
my
I love,
all-time.
but
I love that episode.
Yeah.
And what was the other one? There was another one, wasn't there?
Yeah, other episodes on the poll were Praxius, which came in at 9.1%.
Another one of my favourites. I love it. I love it a lot.
Yeah, me too. Orphan 55 had 14.1.
Love that as well. Love it.
It Takes You Away, 29.2. And Nikola Tesla came in at 47.7. And we had just under 300 votes across those, which was really nice.
She's impressed.
Very good. It was lovely. Yeah, we should say Freya's back, everyone.
Hi.
Insert cheering noise. So Freya, for anyone who doesn't know, is Paul's daughter, and she'd previously joined us on our Flux watch-along, talk-alongs. I don't know what you call them.
Episode reactions. Reactions are on trend these days, aren't they? It's a reaction.
Yes.
It's our reaction pod.
Reaction podcast.
Reaction podcast coming at you right now for Doctor Who Flux.
And
Reactions.
calm.
Okay, I'm calm now. I'm good.
So, Freya, are you going to join us for Legend of the Sea Devils in a couple of weeks?
I suppose.
Well,
Just trying to act all chilled and
that's
calm.
that's enthusiasm from teens.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. So, Paul, tell me about your thoughts, and you, Freya, as well on this episode.
Do you want me to go first? Do you want Freya?
Well, you can alternate.
Shall I go first? I'll go first. Okay.
Alternate the current.
Yeah, I thought it was alright. It's alright. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's not a bad episode. Ow! Don't hit me. I'm your father. You shouldn't do things like that. That's enmeshment. That's what that is.
You heard it there.
See,
abuse.
Honestly.
It wasn't
Violence.
hard.
It was hard enough. It broke my finger.
It's like the Oscars all over again.
Boom! He had to get that one in there. Yeah. He's saying that Freya is Will Smith to my Chris Rock. Is that? I don't know how to follow that, Freya. Do you? No. Honestly, it floored me with that one. Jeff just won the internet, ladies and gentlemen. Where's that round of applause button?
Which is what Will Smith tried to do.
Round of applause button now. Can't find it. Anyway, okay, right. So, what are my thoughts on Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror? Well, yes, I do like it. I think it's a really good episode. It struck me, right, that this is almost, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I mean it in a good way. This is like kind of by the numbers Doctor Who. It has everything that a good episode of Doctor Who has in it. It has a really nice structure. Do you know, I was even, because this is how sad I am, what was I saying?
It was very sad.
I was going, that would be the end of part 1 in the old days, Freya. That would be the end of part 2 in the old days, Freya. That'll be the end. You get the idea. I was doing that, wasn't I?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I apologise on live podcasting right now for doing that. But you know, that the way it was kind of set up and the story followed through, it just hit the beats that all good episodes, like universally good episodes of Doctor Who, seem to hit.
Well, yeah, that's very interesting, and you can see that in episodes. And I remember RTD talking about it. You know, when it all came back, how people sort of were a bit concerned that, you know, episodes were going to be 45 minutes long, and, you know, in the old days you'd have 4 20-something minute episodes, for example, and, you know, 3 cliffhangers. And he said, well, you know, in a way these episodes are 3 15-minute parts.
That's it, exactly, or 4,
you know, you
sort of 9-minute-ish parts together. Yeah.
Yes, because you do get
You
the act
do.
structures in them, and you know, if the show had advert breaks, you'd be able to tell kind of where the, you know, the mini cliffhanger would be that would entice you back.
Somewhere has to watch Doctor Who with ad breaks.
How sad.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
We feel sorry for those people.
yeah, do you know? As a little aside, when I'm watching things on, say, Sky TV, who are one of the main culprits of this, and they put their advert breaks in shows from the States, why do they not put them in at the
They
right
put them in
points?
at weird times.
They do. You go to an advert break, then you come back and you get a minute-long scene, and then you get the you know, the dip to black that would be the cliffhanger
That's
for
it,
the
it
ad
completely
break.
disrupts
And you
the
think,
whole thing, doesn't it?
come on.
Even if you've
Yeah,
already
and I
recorded it and you're skipping through the ads, you've still got to have the old skipping through the ad thing, haven't you? So it still disrupts your enjoyment of a TV show.
It's
Unless you
Really,
download it, then it
always
cuts away
bugs
the
me.
ads.
Indeed, yes, that is true.
yes, it does when you get them on demand, doesn't it? Yeah, most of them anyway. So yes, this is quite a traditional episode in a way,
That's
and
what I
it
should have said,
feels
not by the numbers.
very. It wouldn't have felt out of place with Tennant or Smith, and that's
and the
not
others.
being a slight against. Any of them really.
Honestly, it could have been a Hartnell episode. It
yeah.
could have been a Tom Baker episode, a Pertwee episode,
Yeah.
Peter Davison. You could stick this almost into any era of Doctor Who. And it wouldn't look out of
and that's
place.
not a slight on 13 at all, because that's not, you know, not us on this podcast, but, you know, it's got that feel to it that, you know, it's particularly with the modern Who, you know, the celebrity historical type feel, and you know, mixing in the aliens and stuff, whereas Rosa was a celebrity historical, but a lot more dramatic and a lot more serious, and so quite different from this one in a
Tension.
way. And
There was
I
tension.
can't.
There's lots of tension.
Yeah, I don't feel that episode would have worked with another Doctor quite the same way for some reason. But anyway, yeah, it's just a brilliant episode, this one, and it's a shame that do people sleep on it? I don't know if
Sleep
they do
on-
actually,
what do you mean?
really. On Tesla, like when, you know, Freya probably knows what I mean. I'm
Are you speaking
the
young
lingo
people
of
speak?
the,
Oh, what's he
yeah,
talking about?
speaking the
I have
lingo.
no
She
idea.
has no idea.
I don't
Oh.
do young people
Well, when
speak.
they say, But when you say you're sleeping on it, it means like you're not appreciating how good it is. The irony of sleeping on Sleep No More, for example. People are missing out how good it is.
I just nodded off there for a minute.
Dottie, I knew you were going to say that. I could see that coming.
Honestly.
You set them up. I knock them down.
We set it up, knock
Right,
it down.
come on in.
So the story starts in Niagara Falls.
Wait, you
doesn't
haven't
it?
asked what Frey thought of it. She's feeling left
yes.
out already.
Sorry, Freya.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. Tell us what you thought of it, because you've got a different eye on it to
She's
what
got
we
a third
have.
eye. She's Silurian. Slimurian.
Yeah, it's good.
There you go. So that was worth waiting for.
There you go. Right. Okay. Moving on. So the reason we were in Niagara Falls was because that's how this episode starts, and that's where
That's the
Tesla
big
had
waterfall.
his
Well done.
his base, wasn't it? Really nicely done effects work. Again, we talked about this before, about how good all of that stuff is, and I'm pretty sure that that Niagara background is CG there in that scene, but they're brilliantly
it worked all right, didn't it?
green screened
Yeah.
into it and stuff. Yeah, really well done. Yeah, very good. So it kind of starts with the well, actually, there's another bit. So he's trying to get money together, isn't he, Tesla, to carry on
He's
his
trying to get
his
investment.
project, the Warden Cliff project. And there's a mention, they take the mick out of him a bit over the Mars thing, don't they, and receiving a signal from Mars. So have you ever looked into that? Because I went to do some research about that after the episode.
Did he actually do that then? He did find signals coming.
Yes, it's true. Yeah. He supposedly had something. Yeah. Obviously it was quite a long time ago, so it was quite primitive by today's standards. But yes, he sort of said that he had something. Not speech or anything, of course, but a radio signal of some sort. So it wasn't just thrown into the episode as kind of a fictional.
That's quite good, though, isn't it?
So
if they, using something that actually kind of happened or was said, recorded, to throw it into part of the story. I like it when people do things like that. It's like not bending facts to fit the fiction.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing that you could think, oh, that sounds like they've made that up, but the fact that actually it was true, for me, makes this whole episode work even more, because he's open to all of that kind of stuff. So when it all happens, he's not shocked by any of it, and
Takes it all in his stride.
Yeah, he does. He's quite sort of thrilled by it, really, in a way. So this intro feels quite kind of, again, quite classic. Tesla and his assistant Dorothy, they find a dead guy, don't they?
Oh yeah.
And then they discover the green floating orb, and it's even got the classic POV shot, of the green orb, coming towards Tesla. RTD used to love the point of view shot of something running down a corridor or whatever.
The point of view shot, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah, and then they get shot at, don't they, by a guy, and he's all hooded and everything, isn't he? And then the Doctor just appears out of nowhere wearing the goggles. She says, "Have you seen anything strange around here?"
That's it. Which has to be one of the 13th Doctor's best entrances, don't you think?
Yes, it was very good.
Yeah, it really suited her well, didn't it? Yeah. So there's a big finish audio waiting to be made here, I think, because we then find Graham, Yaz, and Ryan on a train, don't we? And they're all in period costume already, and the Doctor isn't. I can't remember what they say, but they've been doing something prior to getting on the train, so I'm assuming that there was
they were
adventure somewhere there.
They were doing something, weren't they?
They were sourcing
Do you remember?
an energy source thingy.
The Doctor disappeared to go and find out what the energy source was. Found it at Tesla's place. Came back to the train with Tesla and what's her name? Mary Skerritt? Dorothy Skerritt.
Dorothy Skerritt.
Where'd you get Mary from?
I don't know. I just had Mary in my head. It happens. Random name just drop in through the ether.
So it's quite an exciting beginning.
It's full of thrill spills and excitement. Yes.
Chills. Yeah. And the hooded guy gets on, and he's trying to get in, isn't he? And then he climbs on the top, and he gets in, and she uses the sonic on the roof hatch, and it drops
Clunks him
down
on
and
the
bashes
edge,
him on
yeah.
the bonce. And then they jump into the next carriage, and again, all the effects work is really good on here. It looks great, even though they're just obviously in a studio jumping on couple of static
Yeah, it
train
doesn't matter,
carriages.
does it?
You
You kinda
no, it doesn't.
you know,
It
you just
works.
get in with the story. You know,
Yeah.
if you want to be a
It-
really anal critic, you can point those sort of things out, and that's fine. You're welcome to it.
Yeah.
But frankly, I'll just get on with the story.
why?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just get on with it. That's. I'm not criticising
that's
it at
it.
all.
I mean-
It's. I'm saying they're not doing it for
Yeah.
real, of course. But it looks so good. It's brilliant. So this is where a bit more mystery is added into it, because the hooded guy takes the hood down and his eyes are
he's
glowing red,
definitely
and we
got some
realise
sort
he's
of
one of
alien thing going
Tesla's. Yeah, and does he sort of teleports away at this point, doesn't he? And it's really a brief effect, but he sort of kind of crumples inward and turns
Yeah.
kind of into little sort of square boxes and shapes and
that's-
stuff.
Yeah,
It's
he
quite
does, yeah,
cool.
he kind of just
It's-
pops
it's
out,
very-
sort of gets sucked in, like he's been sucked in from behind into a small hole.
That's
or
it. Yeah,
something,
yeah. It's very quick, but it works
Yeah, it's a
really
good effect.
nicely. So they say they're not going to let Tesla out of their
'Cause he's the
sight.
big fat player.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and they want to find out what the energy signal was and everything. So then they go to New York, don't
Yeah.
they? After that, what did you think of these bits here? The production. Where did they film
Was it
these?
in? Was it near Prague or somewhere like that? Studio
Yes, I
out
think
there?
it was. Yeah, it's quite a well-known
Yeah.
studio that's got some New York sets and
That's
stuff,
it.
and it looked great.
Yeah.
Really, really good. So, yeah, what did you think of these bits here? This is my way of
It
handing
is, isn't it?
the
Yeah, I
next
noticed that. I was
section
kind of
over to
waiting for
you.
this. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I honestly, there's not. It's a weird one, this, because in a way, it's like I don't really have an awful lot to say about it, because it's just all right.
It's
To be-
in Bulgaria.
Bulgaria. There you are. Nowhere
That's
near
right,
Prague,
yeah.
it's in Bulgaria. So, I honestly think it's like, it's one of those stories that it tells a good story. It's got some great characters in it. Like you said, we meet a scientist from real life, real history. We get to understand a little bit more about them, and it is one thing I like about this current run of Doctor Who, is the fact we meet people that aren't the most obvious people in history. Because I kind of think if this had been a Hartnell story, we'd have gone straight to Mr. Edison instead of Tesla, maybe.
Yeah.
So there is. It's nice to have that twist on it, I think, and he was played really well. And to be honest, I honestly don't really think anything of the sets and the vistas, because I think now it's like we just kind of expect them to be at least that good. You know what I mean? And it's for me, it's the story, whether it works or not, and the giant scorpions. So that's the main thing.
Yeah.
So, and to be honest, the scorpions of this, I think, are the star of the show. Alongside the Doctor and the Cloak, obviously.
I'll just say, I always watch things with an eye on the kind of production values of things, because I'm interested in that side of things through just being interested in it and what I do at work. But the fact that when you're watching, you maybe don't kind of notice any of that or question it.
And
shows
that's
it's
a good
doing
thing,
its
isn't
job
it? I
right,
think, because if you don't question it,
Yeah.
it doesn't stick out in any way.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, it's worked so well to convince you.
I mean,
of
there
everything
are
that
obviously
it's done
in
its job.
Doctor Who and various other things, these grand vistas that are meant to impress you and wow you, and make you think, oh my god, that's amazing. But I think this one is just more kind of scene setting. It's a New York skyline. I did like the tracking shot from like the from the Statue of Liberty, was it kind of, and then we sort of cut to the back streets of New York, and we see the statue in the distance. So
it's
it's nice
nicely
little
done,
things like that, which they don't need to do in a way, because they told us they're going to New York, but it's nice that they do these things.
You don't need to
They
see
do
it.
do.
No,
Is that a thing?
They do.
they do. So, but let's talk a bit more about specifics of the episode then, because I suppose anyone who's listening will have seen this one, as they helped vote for it. So we don't really need to do a kind of breakdown of it all. The Skithra in this there's two forms of them really, the Queen and then the rest of them, and they're brilliant, both in terms of the way they look, the animation on them, but also the character that they get given as well. So that bit when they start chasing Yaz and Edison through the streets, and they kind of skid down an alleyway and crash into each other, and then if you notice them in the background, they have a little scrap, the two of them, and then and that's just a tiny little bit, but it's it shows there's character within them, and then there's that famous bit where it comes around and crashes into the bread cart, and then Yaz pulls up those bread rolls on the street in front of it. But they're so well animated. And do you remember when we chatted with Pete Levy a couple of episodes ago? Pete was, if you haven't heard that one, he was the producer on half of the episodes in Flux, and he was the visual effects supervisor on series 11 and 12. And we asked him what his favourite effects were from the episodes that he worked on, and he mentioned the Skithra, the scorpion variation of them. So yeah, they're really well done. And that bit when you're in their spaceship and we pan up to reveal a kind of wall or roof or something, and it's just covered in them, and they're all kind of, the eyes are glowing and the tails and stuff. It's really kind of got an epic feel to it.
There. Was that what that was?
We can add some sound effects on for that, and then of course you get the Queen, who's played by Anjali Mohindra, and the Queen. I mean, the makeup on it is brilliant,
good, isn't it? Really
and
good.
I like that there's a kind of similarity to the Rachnos and a callback to that, much like the Silurians and the Sea Devils are kind of cousins and things. There's a lot of close-ups on her in this, and I remember seeing people online talk about you don't see much of the costume at all. There's very little full body, and maybe
I never really thought of that.
It's just kind of her face.
Yeah,
there's a lot on the face.
It is almost
when she walks in, when they're like at the end, when they think she's in the ship and then she's not. Is that full body?
That's full body, but partly CGI.
You see her when she walks into the. Yeah, because the tail's CG. Because
literally every time she speaks, it's just close up on her face. Close up.
Yeah, it is. And it's interesting because, the makeup looks great and the prosthetic, and she plays it brilliantly.
You can tell she's having a lot of fun playing that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But because they are scavengers, her suit has got part of a tyre on one shoulder and, chains and belts and stuff on her. And you do see it in couple of wider shots, but it wasn't until I was looking through maybe the Doctor Who yearbook of that series, and there's a photo of her, and you actually it's a good full body shot. See it all, so it's a bit odd that they didn't really show it in the episode. Maybe they decided they didn't like it, or maybe they wanted to focus on such good makeup.
Well, maybe
I don't know, but yeah,
she's so agile with her face, even in that mask. I was thinking about this because her eyes. She's doing a lot of acting with her eyes. A lot, she's darting around all over, like in this weird kind of, just them sort of jerky movements that she makes. I'm trying to do that.
She's quite twitchy, isn't she?
Podcast,
no, if I could describe what's happening to Paul
there's a lot of,
right now, I'd be concerned if I was in the room with him.
Very concerned. I'm no Anjali Mohindra, that's for sure.
Freya's
she's
not
great, because she's playing it through her eyes and her movements. And in the way her lips move over them blooming teeth, she's working every part.
That's something worth
the makeup and the mask.
Yeah, that's worth commenting on, because the teeth are really weird looking. And having spoken to Sam Sproul, who played Swarm, which is in an upcoming podcast from us, he told us about how he had his. I dropped that in. Yeah, he had his gold teeth fitted. They scanned his teeth and the inside of his mouth. Yeah. And then made the teeth, bespoke for him. So when I was watching the Skithra Queen, I thought, oh yeah, they must have scanned her mouth and done that, well. So a bit of insider info.
The magic of TV, eh?
But under all those prosthetics and stuff, it's still able to act and give a good performance and everything.
But that's part of the fun, though, isn't it? Putting on a costume and just going completely.
Oh, it must be brilliant
for it.
Yeah,
I mean that.
Because you are hidden. And look completely different, so you can really just kind of have some fun and go for it. So,
but it's great as well because obviously she was in Sarah Jane Adventures, wasn't
Rani.
she?
Exactly.
She was great in that Rani as well. She's fabulous.
Yeah. So at the end of this episode, I think the ship gets away. I don't think it gets blown up, does it?
I don't know.
So,
I mean, nothing ever seems to be really final in Doctor Who, does it? To be honest, so we could see a return of the Skithra.
Yeah. Well, in a bit, I'll talk about the comic series that does have a return of them. For anyone who hasn't read it and might be interested to find out a bit more, I'll talk a bit about that. So yeah, I thought that they were going to try and blast the ship, with the Wardenclyffe Tower. But it looked like the ship kind of did that.
Possibly
Reverse teleport thing.
Away or something.
And got away just at the last moment. Anyone listening, you have to let us know what your thoughts are on that, whether
let us know.
Blew it up or got away. So I think Tesla himself, played by Goran Visnich, he's so good in this. He, again, clearly having a great time, and I love the relationship between him and the Doctor. Particularly that bit where they're at the table, and he talks about the thrill of science, and they connect over that, and both kind of.
That's right. Yeah,
a
bit outsiders.
She does that a lot, doesn't she? She's a big fangirl.
Yeah, but it's not kind of. Well, it's not too over the top, but yeah, she gets excited to meet him, and then she's like, "You're a big fat liar, though."
Big fat liar.
I always wanted to meet you. Shame you're a big fat liar.
Yeah. And yeah, he's just having a great time in it all, and it's quite sad in a way, really, to find out a bit more about him, because he was obviously a very clever guy. Had great ideas. That early kind of.
It's like 100 years ahead of his time almost, wasn't it?
It was, it was almost a form of kind of internet and Wi-Fi, and in his death ray, and various other things that are kind of mentioned. And again, I looked all that stuff up, and it was all true.
Shadow graphs for X-rays and things like that.
Yes, that was it. Yeah, and but he never made any money, did he? He did do that thing where he didn't sign the contract, and he ended up working on the railroads or whatever it was, and he would have had a fortune, but he was misguided with bad advice, stupid decisions, and he did end up sort of at the time, as does sometimes happen with people. Van Gogh, for example, a bit of a kind of a nobody, a lost cause, and it's only in later years that people kind of look back and rediscover. So I found him a really interesting individual.
I think this is something that Doctor Who, when it taps into history in this way, one of the things it's always been able to do really as well is kind of move people to go out and find out more about these characters. These people from history. I mean, I do remember, even from watching Tom Baker in The City of Death, when I think that's one where that's with the whole Mona Lisa thing. I remember thinking, because I didn't know what the Mona Lisa was or who Leonardo was when I was like 8 years old or something, whenever I watched this. Might have even been younger, but I do remember going to the library and reading up and finding books on Leonardo and the Mona Lisa and what people thought of it and what it was and why it was such a big deal if it got stolen and all that sort of stuff, and the Louvre in France, and this is great because it's like it's still able to do that now, even when we're adults, and I hope it's the same with some of the kids as well, if they find themselves kind of motivate to go out and learn more about these people.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the original mission statements of the
it
whole
was
show,
indeed,
wasn't it? To be a kind of somewhat really educational thing, and
been brought back into focus during 13th Doctor's, the current era. I'm trying to find out different ways of saying era, because I'm bored of saying era. Everyone says era.
Tenure.
Tenure. Boring word now. I'm trying to find something else. Give me a synonym for era.
So I thought the episode ends with a really exciting section. It's almost kind of turns a bit Mission Impossible in a way, because they're jump cutting between different scenes and actions, and there's voiceover, and you see some of the fan prepping stuff, and Tesla and the Doctor going to the tower and getting it all ready, and there's a great piece of music on that by Sagan as well.
Yeah, it was good. Again, it's like everything kind of slots into place, doesn't it? There's a reason for everything to kind of be there, and there's a lot of great lines as well. One of the things I've forgotten actually is how brilliant Bradley Walsh is as Graham in this. It's been a while since we've seen Graham in Doctor Who, and having him back in, this is always a thing, isn't it? Because I always love the current TARDIS team, and I love John Bishop and watching him in Flux. But now I'm kind of reminded, wasn't Graham brilliant? Because he just does some great things. He's obviously well out of his depth in this, as he is in most of the episodes, right?
When he says, "This ain't our first rodeo," and Ryan goes, "We've never done a rodeo."
You're not helping, Ryan.
But again, that's the interplay between us, because Ryan, he takes things too literally sometimes. He doesn't always get the irony. Whereas Graham is all about irony and sarcasm and cliches and one-liners. And exactly, he does that because he doesn't know, he's not on the same sort of level of scientific knowledge or artistic knowledge or, any of that sort of more esoteric stuff. He's a salt of the earth kind of geezer.
He's just
a
guy.
Driver. He's just a guy, and he's been thrown into these situations. And yet he comes out with some absolutely brilliant one-liners. I mean, the classic bit.
One of my absolute favourite is what does he call it? A slimline slime plaster or something.
The Slimurian. Slimurian laser gun.
He gets it wrong.
Yeah, it's quite
because it's a laser plaster.
Yeah, he does a lot of that coming out of these, and he comes out with the classic AC/DC, doesn't he? On this, oi, AC/DC, shut up, get on with it. Whatever. It's very good.
And it's a bit like his bit about sandwiches in which starts off in Rosa, doesn't it? Taking a sandwich.
That's right. Yeah, he's always got a sandwich in his
pocket.
And
then he pulls one out, and it takes you away. He's got a sandwich in his jacket pocket, and they've even referenced that in some of the books actually that have come out as well. Stuff. Yeah. So it's just, I just think, I've said this before, but today it's just a great episode. It's so much fun, and it is, informative. It's exciting. It's brilliantly written, brilliantly played. There's, for me, I've got no complaints at all about this one.
No, it's a fabulous story. Yeah, it is. It's good.
Yeah.
It's kind of,
I'm glad.
It's kind of that sort of ground where a Doctor Who story, written well, performed well, produced well, hits all the right notes, hits all the right beats, is generally quite widely liked because there's, it's just easy to enjoy it, and I think that's fine because again, one thing I've forgotten is where this story happens in series 12, because it wasn't until we saw the Next Time trailer realised that it's Fugitive of the Jadoon that follows it.
Yes,
which is obviously the story where everything about the Doctor changes, isn't it? And it all goes a little bit crazy.
Mind blown.
Yeah, mind blown. That's it.
Get a little.
So
bit
it's absolutely perfect to have a kind of, and I just say run of the mill Doctor Who story, a kind of standard Doctor Who story that just does what Doctor Who does without trying to be clever, without doing anything sort of innovative or new or trying something different.
Doctor Who
classic
story.
Well done.
That's good, and that's not being. That's not putting it down at all, but it's hopefully one that will, stand the test of time, as it were. So that's kind of what we think of it. So let's move over to the comments from people because we've got a lot here, and I'd like to see what you guys think. So, well, there is literally a lot, and I'm not going to read all of them.
This is one of the most responded to tweets we've put out there for a story we're going to look at.
Which I thought was great because I think that shows, the affection for the episode. Even people who maybe commented that they didn't like it in some ways, I don't think they would. You wouldn't do it if you weren't. If you didn't feel something for it. And none of the comments that I remember were, I hated it, but they were like. Felt I could have done this a bit better.
It's always that. Do you know what I mean? Isn't it? Everybody's got their own ideas of what they want to see from these stories, and if you don't see it and it doesn't happen, then naturally you're kind of disappointed. But these things are what they are. They're not made for one person. They're made for multiple people, and you can't please everybody all the time. As somebody who used to spout cliches used to say to me a while ago. It might have been me actually.
Yeah. Probably.
I might have said that to myself.
No, it was me probably. So the first comment we had came from Orinoco McGee, whose name is @DeadlyKnight, I absolutely adore this episode. The chemistry between the Doctor and Tesla is simply brilliant. They work so well together, especially as they are both inventors, and that face that appears on Tesla's when he walks in the TARDIS is so beautiful. Wish we could have him back. There's 2 points there. The TARDIS looks amazing when they all go in it, and they're dragging cables and stuff out of it, the Doctor and Tesla, and all the crystal columns turn white.
Yeah, it's that great shot of Tesla to one side of the console, isn't it? With it sort of backlit, there's a lot of shadow going on. It's a beautiful shot. Yeah, just him in the console.
It's always really nicely lit in the TARDIS, and when they use different colours on the walls and the columns and stuff, I love it. I think it looks great. And I know I said I wish we could have him back. Well, we do in a comic, which I will talk about. So remind me before we finish this episode, or else I've set that up and then it's going to flop.
Jeff's got to talk about comics.
I have very good short-term memory.
You don't have any memory.
I have a good long-term memory.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
We're talking about Nikola Tesla's
Really,
night
I hadn't realised.
So a comment here from JD, who's someone new to us. Thank you, JD. The username is @JD Pry. Loves the costumes. Wish the Doctor was wearing something to suit the period. Wish it was a pure historical. 13 and Tesla had some great moments. So that's quite interesting, because a couple of people said they loved the rest of the fan were in period costume, but the Doctor, they wish the Doctor had. What are your thoughts on that? Because 13 has not really
literally never
changed to suit the era. No, it's only in the upcoming Legend of the Sea Devils that she's got a time appropriate outfit. Does it bother me? No, because I think her outfit is awesome. Paul, thoughts? No, moving on.
What do you think?
I don't know, but when I saw the Sea Devils trailer, and I was like, oh, she's not in her costume, she's in a different thing. I was like, oh, that's a bit weird, because then when we were watching this one, and I was like, wait, everyone's in costume apart from her. Yeah. She's just in her normal stuff, and I was like, wait, is she ever changing? And it was something I was thinking about. I was like, I don't think she ever really has, but I don't know if I think it matters, because nobody ever seems to point it out. But maybe it's just in the story. No, but maybe it's just because she's so different, and she's so unique, and she's so weird and different to herself, and she's just making a scene almost that the last thing they're thinking about is what she's wearing. Whereas whenever the fam are wearing stuff I don't know, they seem to blend in more, as she's just hello.
Yeah, she's more
very stands
in herself,
out.
You mean?
Yeah, she stands out, and then her her costume helps her stand out more, which is kind of what her goal is.
And maybe for the others, it's a chance to dress up. Because I know if I was going to go back to the 19th century,
you'd want to dress like that.
I'd want to dress up. Yeah, absolutely right.
Whereas she doesn't. She's been there so many times, maybe.
Because she's a time traveller, right? Yeah. The Doctor travels through time. Does she come to the 20th century and feel the need to dress up as a 20th century person? Does she go into the far future and feel the need to dress up in... I mean, occasionally the Doctor does dress... as we were watching... what were we watching? Kill the Moon, where the 12th Doctor dresses... he puts a spacesuit on, doesn't he? That's more of a need.
That's because they're in space.
Because they're in space and there's no air, there's a vacuum and stuff, so that's true. But occasionally...
And a need to change.
Still, he
Warriors
was,
of the Deep, Peter Davison wears a guard's outfit, but it's very rare, isn't it? Tom Baker again with his Sherlock Holmes outfit on Talons of Weng Chiang.
If you look back at
the Doctor doesn't change.
I mean, they do change.
It doesn't change much,
but
she wears a different coloured T-shirt.
But usually it's just a variation on the same sort of costume, isn't it? And
she just has a blue T-shirt and a purple one. Right.
And also, I think I remember Ray Holman saying once that the T-shirt colours change depending on whether the episode was past, present, or future set. Oh. So she's wearing purple in Tesla, and I think she wore purple in Rosa as well. But the 9th Doctor didn't really change. Slightly different coloured jumper. 10th Doctor,
that was about it.
He
might have had different socks on occasion. He might change from his panda socks to his koala socks at some point.
And the 10th Doctor was...
Well, he went from, a brown
in the
suit
same
to a
suit.
blue
Blue
suit,
suit.
and then back to a brown suit.
And then a bit of both, yeah. And he did have a different colour shirt on and stuff, but, it was still the same.
Yeah, it's the same
you know,
silhouette,
I-
isn't it? It's recognisably.
Yeah, it's the
that
superhero
particular
costume
Doctor.
in a way, Yeah, I mean, 12, though, he
He
changed.
did do a lot, actually. I think
you
12
know,
probably...
huge
bucks
amount,
the trend.
and so did 11. His changed quite a lot as well. So it was interesting that
I feel like
either
because they all
side of
just
those
kind of
two.
wore suits, whereas all the other Doctors have worn something a bit more out there.
Yeah, maybe.
Whereas they just
Yeah.
all wore suits. I'm looking over there. I can see what they're all wearing.
I think about it as well, actually. I mean, the third Doctor wore a lot of different coloured jackets, and he usually had a frilly shirt, but the jacket was always a
Same vibe though to all of
different
them.
colour. 12th
Yeah.
Doctor had hoodies. He went from he had long coats, short
Robes.
coats, robes. He had the
Check
third Doctor
trousers.
outfit of his own.
Yeah.
So he did change a lot.
Yeah.
Actually, thinking about it, he's probably the exception to the rule.
Probably because
Interesting.
he felt the most self-conscious.
Oh, maybe that's a thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's deep.
Ooh,
Yeah.
could be.
I am deep.
So there's a comment from George Minster here, who's at Judmin. It showed real promise and could have been superb with better actors, better direction, and a tighter, more
Are
complex
you watching the
script.
same show?
It deserved more time. The ending felt rushed to me, but that's just my
Yeah, that's fair
opinion.
It's an opinion.
We see, it's good to hear different opinions.
Everyone's
Yeah,
allowed an
I
opinion.
think if you've listened to this, George, we haven't agreed with that. But like we said earlier, things don't always work for everyone.
This is
and,
true.
Yeah. Yeah. So there we go.
But I can't agree with that one. At all.
So Thomas Hines. No, sorry, George. We love this one too much. Thomas Hines. Thomas, you need to change your username because it's at Thomas H90175738.
That's brilliant. No, keep it. Put some
I
underscores
can't
in.
remember that one, mate. Yeah, throw some underscores in. Thomas says it's one of my favourite 13th Doctor stories. It's so good. I really enjoyed it. Dr. Whovian, who's at Dr. Whovian 123, says I love the episode and I'm glad Angie Mohindra got a role in Doctor Who, even if it wasn't as the Rani. Ian Clark, whose username is at Ian J. Clark, says just really solid, fun, characterful, and improves on rewatching. An excellent episode for the Doctor. And whilst Paul and I were talking earlier in the week, that's kind of what we said, really. I think, Ian, that this is an episode that is solid. And that's not dismissive of it because it's great fun, and actually I think this episode is one of the episodes across the whole show that would be a really good introductory episode for a potential new Whovian, because it does the historical element, does the sci-fi element, the creatures, and it kind of throws them all into one. So if you were going to pick an episode from each modern Doctor to be 5 episodes for people to watch, this would be something I'd put in there with perhaps A Girl in the Fireplace or Smith and Jones, something like that. Episodes that feel like they are kind of quintessential Doctor Who in a way.
What was your first episode of Doctor Who you watched?
Pilot.
That was right. Yeah, Peter Capaldi, wasn't it?
Right. Oh yes, and then you went back, didn't you, and watched some more. Yeah. So there's a tweet from Dana K, who's at Dana K2. Really great chemistry between Jodie and Tesla, which we commented on. Matt Price, who's at Matt Price 30, says excellent episode through and through. One of my favourites of the entirety of New Who. Goran was fantastic. I like this. The chemistry between Tesla and the Doctor was, wait for it, electric.
Boom!
No pun intended, he's put there.
Look at that. Mic drop.
Nice one, Matt. Very good, very good.
Electric.
Yes, I got
Chemistry
it.
and
I got
electricity
it.
and Tesla. Did you get it? Did you get the joke? It was a good joke, wasn't it?
Ethan, who's at Ethan_LMP, says, a very fun historical episode. I love how the Doctor and Tesla share common ground in their love for technology, science, and how they each feel out of place. The episode really sold Jodie as the Doctor for me. Not that she hadn't already, but she was on top form in this episode.
When he was like, wait. When he was like, wait, you're an inventor? And she's like, that's one of my skills.
Oh, I made it mostly with spoons. Yeah. When I first watched this episode, actually, I remember kind of feeling like they kind of, it was a little bit flirty between them. But then when I rewatched it this week, I was like, oh, maybe not. It's more of a,
It's
there is an admiration there. Yeah, It wasn't quite how I'd initially.
There's a bit of
sort of
fangirling
interpreted
going
it.
on as well,
Yeah,
isn't there?
and I
She's-
think
Yes, it
she's
was.
definitely
Yeah,
like, oh my god, you're Nikola Tesla kind of thing. Oh my god, I love you kind of thing. And then he sees her Sonic and is like, wait, you invent things, and it's suddenly like, oh my god, there's someone like me, and he's
Yeah.
just so amazed that there's someone who thinks like him, and he's just gets happy. And then I think he starts like almost fangirling over
Yeah.
her, and it's
Right.
like, you
Yeah,
make
yeah.
things like me,
Yeah.
you're like me, and it's
which was probably quite
Yeah,
unusual
it's
at the
really
time,
nice.
as awful as that is to say.
And she
when
sort of
you
maybe
do
inspires him
finally
as well.
it's nice when you finally find someone who you're like, wait, you're like me, you think like me, when
Yeah.
you haven't
Well, in fact,
before.
it's almost like we script this stuff, because these next two tweets that I'd like to read out kind of back that up. And someone who felt probably quite lonely and quite isolated and misunderstood, and was frustrated by the limitations of the time and things like that to bring his ideas to life. So Miles, who's at that barin _Tokyo, says, to be honest, it's one of the best historical eps, bringing light to a man who was kind of largely forgotten by history, and telling us what he did and what he stood for was fantastic. And his kindred spirit friendship with 13 was so nice to watch. And then Renee Fenley, who's at Fenley, says, one of my favourite episodes, a wonderful tribute to a man whom we owe so much yet know so little. And they said the glimpse we got of the Doctor's darker, more unforgiving side is fascinating too. Just a trail of blood and other people's brilliance. No one will even know you existed. So yeah, I think that kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, that you know the name Tesla, but maybe not
With that,
much about
how nobody, you don't really know him much, is I remember when we watched this the first time and we were saying about it, I remember talking to my mum and sister about it, and they was like, who's Nikola Tesla? They had no idea at all. And it was just like, who is this person?
Well, in fact, that's reflected in the episode, isn't it,
Yeah.
by Graham and Ryan? Because Graham's like, oh yeah, Tesla, he invented the car, or he
They knew
the
something
car.
to do with the car, didn't they? Through the car.
Yeah, but Ryan's like, they don't actually know anything else about it, so they kind of work as the audience, kind of.
Yeah, I feel like if you don't look into that's the same with loads of inventors. So if you don't look into it, then you'll never know. So it's kind of like it's the same with loads of things. So it's like you may think why can't I say this? It's not
I feel like
working.
if you look at how many women inventors whose names we just don't know about,
it's like my Women in Science book.
that's
Yeah, there's loads of people, aren't there, who don't become kind of mainstream famous, but their contributions have changed.
But again,
the
it's
world.
like he's a victim of capitalism, really, isn't he? And there's that moment when he's standing on the steps and they're accusing him even of, when he's fighting through the crowds of people protesting against the death current and the fact he's causing earthquakes and all that, and he gets onto the steps of his lab and he's like, they say, you're not even a true American. And he's like, I'm an American as much as any of you people are, and you're trespassing. And that's
he's
something,
quite firm there.
They're just
Yeah.
he's fully isolated apart from his best friend Dorothy Skerritt. She's the only one who really seems to believe in him until the Doctor shows up, and they have that chemistry, that spark.
Yeah. So there's a tweet from Annette, who's at AnnieTQED, and she says, I love how the Doctor interjects when she's rescuing Yaz.
Ah, yes.
She's not that important, the Skithra says, and the Doctor replies, I'm going to have to disagree with that.
Yeah.
And then the very intimate way she leans in to step in front of her. There's a
It was
couple
all
of
layered.
happy,
It was all
emojis
there.
Yeah. Catherine Komar, who's another name that's new to us, is at Sailor0079, just said, good ep, one of Jodie's best this era. Kevin McCoy, at Kev the Rev,
Kev the
1986, loved it. Matt V, who's also needs to change his username, Matt V07095826.
I love it.
One of the best celebrity historicals in New Who. Excellent characters. The Doctor Tesla dynamic was great. Brilliant costumes and prosthetics, stunning music, brilliant pacing, and a good balance between lighter and darker moments. Let me just keep scrolling through. David McLean, one of my all-time favourites. Amy D, this is quite interesting. At Amy D2416, Chibnall's history episodes overall will definitely be the high points of his time as a showrunner that many will remember. More comments about the interplay with Tesla and the Doctor. And the Robot of Death, who's at Graham Ward 68, says, I love the call back to the Rachnos. They could have just stuck them in there for a bit of fan service, actually, but much more interestingly, giving us a different culture from the same place. Story as a whole was good. That season had a high standard.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that stuff. It's a really nice story. It's just, sort of sit back, Doctor Who adventure. That is just great on all fronts. It's just a really good adventure story. We got interesting stuff with Nikola Tesla. We can find out more about him. It's just and it's got a great ending, great beginning. It's fabulous. I love it. I do love it. It's a great story.
It's great. So throughout the podcast, a couple of times I've been promising to
tell us about this comic,
unveil information about this comic. So it was called Alternating Current, and let me find it because I've got it up here. So this comes from the Titan range, and was written by Jodie Hauser, and this is the series that reunites 13th Doctor and the 10th Doctor following a previous arc, which is sort of, it's not quite a reimagining of Blink, but 13 and the Fam end up in the same time period when 10 and Martha are stuck in London in the 60s. So in Alternating Current, the Doctors end up teaming up together with a Rose from an alternate dimension and Tesla and the Skithra Queen, a different one who is not the same at all to the Skithra Queen that we've met on the show, and it's also got Sea Devils in it as well.
Ooh, it's got Sea Devils.
That's a lot of going on.
That's a lot going on, isn't it?
It's a lot going on, but it's a lot of fun. So if you haven't read any of the Titan comics, I highly recommend them, but particularly this one.
I don't think I've even got one.
You should check them out.
I keep seeing them. I keep thinking it's like the same problem I have with any comics. Like whenever I pick them up, it seems to be like halfway through a run of like a million other editions.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's definitely good to get them in the collections like this, because then you could read it in an evening or two, and it would make much more sense rather than waiting a month between issues or something.
Yeah, I like to get them when they're all together.
Yeah.
I have got a few. They're there's that bunch on there. They're all comics. Those books. Yeah.
Are they DWM?
Yeah,
ones?
they are. Yeah, Voyager and
they're good too. Yeah,
all that. Evening's Empire.
Yeah, but I definitely recommend Titan comics. So people should check those out. So this has been fun looking back at this episode. I'm always up for an excuse to watch more 13th Doctor episodes. And so thank you to everyone who voted on the poll and contributed a comment about the episode. We'll have to run another one of these soon, maybe well, we did 12th Doctor episode recently, so maybe we should go to an 11th Doctor episode.
You like Matt Smith, don't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hadn't seen one of his stories for ages. So we'll have to pitch in which ones we think we'd like to talk about. Yeah,
we'll chuck out a poll. So obviously when people listen to the podcast, they may not be doing them in release order, but we've got a lot of exciting stuff coming up, haven't we? We just recently put out our episode with Helen Goldwyn from Big Finish, who's writer, performer, director. So there's a lot of talk about Big Finish and the Ninth Doctor adventures in there. We've got our chat with Swarm actor Sam Sproul coming up soon, a couple of other guests that we haven't yet announced, and we've got quite a lot going on.
Yes, we got loads going on.
We'll be back next week with our post-show review of Legend of the Sea Devils, which we're very excited for.
You excited for that, Freya?
So excited.
She's so excited. Do you actually mean that?
That wasn't actually sarcasm either.
You mean it this time?
Yeah.
That sounded really sarcastic.
Trailer.
Yeah, I can't wait. It looks great.
That was amazing.
And Paul, you must be...
the Merca.
He was very excited.
I was excited.
He was just like...
Oh, my digits were flapping around like a pigeon trying to escape a pigeon hunt.
What?
So we looked back at the Sea Devils episodes a little while ago, which you may have listened to, because we were riding the waves of Sea Devil hype, and we watched Warriors of the Deep.
We're more like plumbing the depths of our marine.
Well, that was plumbing the depths.
Marine-based
gags,
analogies.
Yeah. And in that podcast, Paul lamented the Merkra and how it on paper was terrifying, but didn't kind of come across on screen. In fact, we did describe it as a pantomime
I wouldn't be
horse
alone
of an
in
alien.
that. On account of it actually being a pantomime horse.
It was actually one, yeah.
Glued onto it with a Pritt stick.
In the Legend of Sea Devils trailer, there is a glimpse of what might well be
Big Kraken-esque
fully CG
thing
Merkra.
From the fathoms, a beast from the fathoms with teeth and everything.
I hope that is what it is, and we don't end up being hyped up.
Because Chris Chibnall does it. He understands the fan gene.
He is one.
Yeah.
With
He understands the
fandom.
1980s Doctor Who fan. You know, he was one of us. He still is.
He's gonna come and patch up your broken heart about it. Yeah. So yeah, stick with us, listeners. Like I said, we've got some great stuff coming up, and we hope to keep entertaining our fellow Whovians and informing our fellow Whovians. So we'll catch you next time on Who Corner to Corner.
Bye for now.
Goodbye.